Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? The time is always right to do what is right. The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into friend. Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. We must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word. We must develop and maintain the capacity to forgive. He who is devoid of the power to forgive is devoid of the power to love. There is some good in the worst of us and some evil in the best of us. When we discover this, we are less prone to hate our enemies. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Nothing in all the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. Human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Every step toward the goal of justice requires sacrifice, suffering, and struggle, the tireless exertions and passionate concern of dedicated individuals. Every man must decide whether he will walk in the light of creative altruism or in the darkness of destructive selfishness. Violence as a way of achieving racial justice is both impractical and immoral. I am not unmindful of the fact that violence often brings about momentary results. Nations have frequently won their independence in battle. But in spite of temporary victories, violence never brings permanent peace. That old law about an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind. The ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by the bad people but the silence over that by the good people. All labor that uplifts humanity has dignity and importance and should be undertaken with painstaking excellence. A genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus but a molder of consensus. Change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle. And so we must straighten our backs and work for our freedom. A man can't ride you unless your back is bent. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit together at the table of brotherhood. Man must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. I look to a day when people will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. An individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of his individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity. We may have all come on different ships, but we're in the same boat now. The quality, not the longevity, of one's life is what is important. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. At the center of nonviolence stands the principle of love. Never succumb to the temptation of bitterness. Rarely do we find men who willingly engage in hard, solid thinking. There is an almost universal quest for easy answers and half-baked solutions. Nothing pains some people more than having to think. Freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor, it must be demanded by the oppressed. Our scientific power has outrun our spiritual power. We have guided missiles and misguided men. Nonviolence is a powerful and just weapon, which cuts without wounding and ennobles the man who wields it. It is a sword that heals. Whatever your life's work is, do it well. A man should do his job so well that the living, the dead, and the unborn could do it no better. The art of acceptance is the art of making someone who has just done you a small favor wish that he might have done you a greater one. If a man has not discovered something that he will die for, he isn't fit to live. Whatever affects one directly, affects all indirectly. I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. This is the interrelated structure of reality. The first question which the priest and the Levite asked was, "If I stop to help this man, what will happen to me?" But the Good Samaritan reversed the question, "If I do not stop to help this man, what will happen to him?" We are not makers of history. We are made by history. Law and order exist for the purpose of establishing justice, and when they fail in this purpose they become the dangerously structured dams that block the flow of social progress. History will have to record that the greatest tragedy of this period of social transition was not the strident clamor of the bad people, but the appalling silence of the good people. Capitalism does not permit an even flow of economic resources. With this system, a small privileged few are rich beyond conscience, and almost all others are doomed to be poor at some level. That's the way the system works. And since we know that the system will not change the rules, we are going to have to change the system. Every man lives in two realms, the internal and the external. The internal is that realm of spiritual ends expressed in art, literature, morals, and religion. The external is that complex of devices, techniques, mechanisms, and instrumentalities by means of which we live. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. All progress is precarious, and the solution of one problem brings us face to face with another problem. A riot is the language of the unheard. I am not interested in power for power's sake, but I'm interested in power that is moral, that is right, and that is good. Everything that we see is a shadow cast by that which we do not see. It is not enough to say we must not wage war. It is necessary to love peace and sacrifice for it. Have we not come to such an impasse in the modern world that we must love our enemies, or else? The chain reaction of evil, hate begetting hate, wars producing more wars, must be broken, or else we shall be plunged into the dark abyss of annihilation. Peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but a means by which we arrive at that goal. A right delayed is a right denied. The moral arc of the universe bends at the elbow of justice. There can be no deep disappointment where there is not deep love. There comes a time when people get tired of being pushed out of the glittering sunlight of life's July and left standing amid the piercing chill of an alpine November. Never forget that everything Hitler did in Germany was legal. He who passively accepts evil is as much involved in it as he who helps to perpetrate it. He who accepts evil without protesting against it is really cooperating with it. Science investigates, religion interprets. Science gives man knowledge, which is power. Religion gives man wisdom, which is control. Seeing is not always believing. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. This is why right, temporarily defeated, is stronger than evil triumphant. We must concentrate not merely on the negative expulsion of war but the positive affirmation of peace. We must build dikes of courage to hold back the flood of fear. A nation or civilization that continues to produce soft-minded men purchases its own spiritual death on the installment plan. I submit that an individual who breaks a law that conscience tells him is unjust, and who willingly accepts the penalty of imprisonment in order to arouse the conscience of the community over its injustice, is in reality expressing the highest respect for law. If physical death is the price that I must pay to free my white brothers and sisters from a permanent death of the spirit, then nothing can be more redemptive. It may be true that the law cannot make a man love me, but it can keep him from lynching me, and I think that's pretty important. The principle of self-defense, even involving weapons and bloodshed, has never been condemned, even by Gandhi. A lie cannot live. Philanthropy is commendable, but it must not cause the philanthropist to overlook the circumstances of economic injustice which make philanthropy necessary. The hope of a secure and livable world lies with disciplined nonconformists who are dedicated to justice, peace, and brotherhood. We must use time creatively. Wars are poor chisels for carving out peaceful tomorrows. Means we use must be as pure as the ends we seek. Property is intended to serve life, and no matter how much we surround it with rights and respect, it has no personal being. It is part of the earth man walks on. It is not man. Almost always, the creative dedicated minority has made the world better. I want to be the white man's brother, not his brother-in-law. When you are right, you cannot be too radical. When you are wrong, you cannot be too conservative. If I wish to compose or write or pray or preach well, I must be angry. Then all the blood in my veins is stirred, and my understanding is sharpened. The question is not whether we will be extremists, but what kind of extremists we will be. The nation and the world are in dire need of creative extremists. We who engage in nonviolent direct action are not the creators of tension. We merely bring to the surface the hidden tension that is already alive. Oppressed people cannot remain oppressed forever. The yearning for freedom eventually manifests itself. Nonviolence is a powerful and just weapon. Indeed, it is a weapon unique in history, which cuts without wounding and ennobles the man who wields it. War is a poor chisel to carve out tomorrow.